I'll progress to another question about how, during the actual race coverage. Now, what happens? Okay, how do you protect your gear? How do you protect yourself in case of, like, say, rain or even perhaps even snow?
We've got the rain covers, which are very important. Because one of the most important things is, if you get rain on the lens, also, it's pointless shooting because it's going to show up in the pictures. So you've got to protect the cameras as much as you can with the rain covers, and then you've got the hoods. So you're hoping not too much spray and rain comes inside. But if it does, you've then got the job of trying to clean that somehow. To carry on taking pictures, you've got to stop and then clean the lens to take the pictures.
The key part, really, you don't really matter. It doesn't matter if you get wet. It's more about keeping the cameras dry. As soon as they get a bit of damp inside, they can steam up. And that is the key element, keeping them dry. But the rain covers do help a hell of a lot.
I did have one incident. Was it when Michael Schumacher won in Spain? What year was that?
Yeah, 96.
In Barcelona, 96.
Yeah.
When I was shooting the digital cameras, and one camera had gone down during the race, so I was left with one camera because I hadn't protected it properly. So came to the podium, and I was just about to take the podium, and the other camera, my only camera left, wasn't working. So I was really angry, so I shook it in anger, and the thing started working again. So I was able to take a few shots. Then it stopped again, so I shook it again like that, and then I took shots. I was shaking it, and by the end of it, and the podium had finished, I was just totally exhausted. No cameras left, absolutely soaking wet. But I did get a nice finished picture, and also I did get some podium pictures. But I remember, which in a way is why you need two camera bodies.
Yeah.
Also you have one body,
Yeah.
with a wide angle lens or a 70 to 200, and then you have the other camera body, with the big 500, and then you don't have to keep swapping lenses, which you don't lose time then, or you don't miss.
You don't get rain inside.
But also, by having two camera bodies, you've got a backup when you're out there. If it comes down to just shooting, one camera goes down, which is very rare, to be honest. You've still got one camera to carry on shooting.
I mean, the earlier D2000 it did have its problems with rain, I must admit. Going back, I remember in Spa, one of my cameras went down, and they did have a big problem with the circuit boards. And they were like £1,500 for a circuit board, so say 3,000 Hong Kong dollars to replace the circuit board. Yeah, just to replace the circuit board. And I think in the end, the insurance companies were writing them off because basically they couldn't afford to replace them. So they were just buying you new cameras, but it was a serious problem. Now, all the cameras have these rubber cups within all the buttons that protect from light rain, even if you don't have a cover on it. So that really helps. Then you back up that with obviously with the covers that are on it. That really protects the cameras. But you just have to be ready, really. Some races you can go, like Brazil is a key one. Malaysia's another one where even here you have to be prepared. You have to have something in your backpack, whether it's a cover for your body or for your lenses. You have to be prepared for everything. You have to carry a chamois with you or some tissue to make sure you can clean that lens.
When Canon service aren't there, you really know about it, because in Brazil last year they weren't there, and what happened is, and I have to say it wasn't just us but all the other photographers, we had a big heavy rain on Saturday afternoon during practice qualifying.
Yeah.
So it wasn't too much of a problem. We kept the water off the cameras. However, what the big mistake we did, and the majority of the photographers, is at the Grand Prix circuits we have lockers at the tracks where we lock everything up so we don't have to keep carrying it back to the hotel every night. Well, this one particular time, everyone put their cameras away, all dry and clean, into their lockers. However, the next morning, when we got to the track and took our cameras out, of course, condensation from the air-conditioned unit. So basically outside the photographer's room, luckily it was sunny, there was all these Nikons and Canons all lined up waiting for the sun to dry them all out just before the start of the race. I actually was quite fortunate. I got a friend at Red Bull, and I was struggling, so I took the cameras there, and they had kind of a blower, like a hair dryer, if anything, and we were trying to dry it, the condensation out for but it was a bit close. But anyway, we just about got away with that one. But you know, we were lucky. But you know, because
Malaysia also
that
is
was a vital race.
It's the humidity outside, so it's basically going from a cold air-conditioned room, where so the temperature of the lenses will be okay, and as soon as you take it outside into 30-degree, 35-degree heat, it hits it, and it's the condensation. You've got cold to heat, like anything. It just steams up inside, and it was a great moment. We literally got to the track about I think about 10 o'clock, and some people had got there about 9:30, and literally this whole row of cameras and lenses were just lined up. We've got some photos of it actually, haven't we? Because it was just such a funny moment. It wasn't just Canon, it was Nikon, it was everyone.
It's funny looking back. It wasn't funny at the time.
It wasn't very professional. Very professional.
So I'll keep in mind Brazil.
Yeah.
I have quite a lot more questions, but okay, perhaps because I think we're about to run out of time, right? Okay, just curious. Okay, now what kind of custom functions I suppose you're familiar on the Canon bodies, right? Okay, what kind of specific like things will you set with it?
You can ask me which custom function it is now. The problem is, it's obviously the one that we use the most, I suspect, that all the professionals use, is the back button for the autofocus. Because basically the autofocus normally is on the front button. The problem is when you've got it on the front button, it's focusing all the time. You need somewhere where you can focus it and manually focus it. So having it on the back button means you can autofocus and shoot and manual focus at the same time. So you've got the option, but you've always got autofocus on the back. You understand? So you can shoot, but you've always got autofocus on the back button. I think I can't remember where it is on the Mark IV, but it's on the back button somewhere. It's basically like an exposure lock button. That's what everyone uses as a sports photographer. It gives you the option of having autofocus immediately. Something happens, you've got it. And it's not on the front button, because obviously that's autofocus through the front button that you don't need, because sometimes exposure as well.
So let me just clarify, you use the back button for tap to focus, is that correct?
For what, sorry?
You use the back button to tap to focus.
It just means you've got instant focus, so you can manually focus the lens whenever you want, but it means you can shoot on the front by using manual focus, but you've always got autofocus on the back. So even if it's just to take a quick autofocus reading, you can then manually focus for the rest of it, whether it's on the track or whether it's on someone's face. It just gives you the option. There is a lot of other functions in there for like increasing the speed of the lenses, increasing lots of other things.
I like the one where you can't, the function where you, I don't know which one it is, but it's the one where you can't shoot unless you've got the memory card in the camera.
There's a funny moment there, isn't there?
And there's a few, I suppose, in the old days when we were shooting film, it was sometimes possible to do a roll of 36, and you'd open the back and there'd be
no
rolling. So
you could make that mistake. I mean, there was one camera. I mean, the D30 had a function where you had to make sure that it was switched on. We'd bought the cameras pretty much new for Australia. One of our photographers had gone out onto the circuit for practice, left his camera, it switched itself off. In front of him, Michael Schumacher barrel rolled in the Ferrari, picked up his camera, it wasn't on. So it took a microsecond, but it was too late. It was a moment we regret, but it was. I suppose you learn by your mistakes. A bit like taking photographs. From the beginning, you can't really go on a course to college and learn how to take pictures. It's all, you make mistakes, you go back, you redo it. You chose the wrong shutter speed, you chose the wrong lens, but you go back and redo it. Same with that incident. We then made sure that the D30s it was in them days, that we made sure that the cameras were all set to make sure they're on. Same with the function now, like he said, with the cards, to make sure that you will not take a frame without any cards in it. So you learn by mistakes, but in this case, it didn't work in our favour, but now we've corrected it with a new camera. So,
gentlemen, I think that's the key things I have to ask today.
Great.
I thank you for your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
Pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks very much. Yeah. Thank you. Cheers.